All right, well, welcome back to the Seahawks Chat. So earlier today, I made a video on the notable roster cuts that happened today in the NFL, and some of the players that Seattle could, in fact, pick up and maybe possibly add to our roster of our and potentially make the 53 and replace players that are worse than what we could pick up from other cut casualties. So every player that I do mention isn't just pertaining to the Seahawks. So keep in mind if you do have a different team that you like, these players could still be some importance to you and your team. So if you like what I have to say about these players, please give me a like and comment or whatever you want to say. If not, I understand. But all in all, I'm just going to go and start it off. I'm going to start mainly on the offense. I'm going to start with the defense, and I'm going to start with the offensive line at the end. So first and foremost, I was talking about running backs. Excuse me. I was talking about running backs before with the Seahawks, especially since there has been tweets about DJ Dallas potentially getting cut, and DJ Dallas is still a relatively young running back. 24 years old. Well, there's also another running back that's about relatively the same age, and that is James Robinson. He's actually 20. He just turned 25 a couple weeks ago. So he's still a relatively young back. And you must understand, he was an undrafted free agent. And then when he played pretty well. His first season, he had over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. As the years went on for him, yes, of course, he's declined and declined in terms of production. But at the same time, he was never given that starting role after Travis Etienne took over and basically became the bell cow for the Jacksonville. After he got traded to the Jets didn't really use him that much. So apparently, I think he got cut, and then I guess he landed with the Giants. And it seems as though the Giants don't really have any use for him. So for me, it is a little unfortunate to see James Robinson in this situation where just a few years ago he was, especially his rookie campaign, he was considered a top maybe 15, top even to a point top 10 running back in the NFL. And Seattle could take advantage. Again, this guy's very young. He has had some, at least in my opinion, has had a prolific NFL year in his rookie year, notably. But he has talent. A team will give James Robinson a chance. Personally, I just want it to be with the Seahawks. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and keep moving. Again, this video is gonna be really short and sweet. I'm probably going to do one more series tomorrow and be able to cover more notable now free agents that either the Seahawks, my team, or even any other team could pick up if there's any importance or interest. So in any event, we're going to go ahead and talk about Donovan Knight, a.k.a. Bam. So Bam is a very interesting player because he was also, I believe, drafted the same year as Breece Hall, I believe. And he only played for 1 year. And even then, his 1 year was not terrible because he still had Breece Hall. And then that I think he was doing the tandem with James Robinson, who I just mentioned earlier. He only mustered up 300 yards on 85 rushes, 1 touchdown. I mean, it doesn't sound so impressive. But this guy is very young. He's 22 years old. He's not even 23 yet. And they're cutting him mainly because they feel as though there's no need for him on their team. Foreseeing how young this back is, he has the makeup, 5'11", 210 pounds. Definitely has what it takes to be a running back in terms of physical features. I have not fully seen him, like his highlights and all that, but everyone says, in terms of me reading online, Bam Knight is actually a very good running back in some cases. So if that's the case, I would like to see Seattle or maybe your team or any other team pick him up and maybe give him a shot. I mean, at worst, he can't be worse than DJ Dallas for our Seahawks. So, hey, maybe there's a notable player that you can pick up for your practice squad and maybe be a number 2 or number 3 running back in any team. So, in any event, let's go and switch it up. I'm going to switch it up to a former first-round pick. In fact, there's two former first-round picks in this list, but one is a little bit younger than the other. So we got N'Keal Harry. So N'Keal Harry was drafted in by the Patriots. I think it was like the last. Yeah, it was. It was the last pick of the 2019 draft. And I can't lie, these last few years, he has done nothing. Like even his rookie seasons, he hasn't produced at all. Like he's in 2020, his best season, he mustered up 33 receptions for 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that's his best receiving season so far. And I say that because he played at least more than half the season. He played in 14 games and started in 9. That's by far the most he's ever even started, and it's close to almost as much as he's ever played in one season. All in all, he's always been injured. It's kind of unfortunate about N'Keal Harry. It seems like he just cannot keep a roster spot, and it just makes sense that he's cut. Now, is he better than some of the receiving core that we have in Seattle? Slightly. I would rather have Bobo over him. I would also rather have, this is really a stretch to a degree. I'd rather maybe have Cody Thompson. Because Cody Thompson has flashed abilities, whereas N'Keal Harry has not at all flashed abilities. At least with Cody Thompson, as a Seahawker, personally, he's always been part of a practice squad, and for a reason. Because he's always been a decent decent wide receiver. Now, is N'Keal Harry someone to look out for any team that might need a potential fifth or even practice squatter? Of course. But at the same time, I don't see anyone really looking for N'Keal Harry's services anytime soon, especially if I'm going to pick between N'Keal Harry and this person, which is going to be another firmer first-round pick, and that is Brashad Perriman. Now, Brashad Perriman is definitely an older wide receiver, older player. He was drafted in 2015, I believe. Yeah, 2015 first-round pick by the Ravens. That's the funny thing with the Ravens. Every time they have picked up first-round picks, notably wide receivers, they've never fully panned out. And I don't know if that's just because of the Baltimore's offensive scheme, since it's not exactly a pass friendly offense. It's more of a run trucking offense. But all in all, I do think Perriman has more ability to provide than even N'Keal Harry, who we just talked about. So in his last previous seasons in Tampa Bay, he did virtually nothing. I mean, he was basically out both seasons, so it's not like he did much. He did play 11 games, where in 2021, I mean, he played 6 games. That's not much as you can say. But still, I mean, even in 2019 and 2020, he was averaging between, he got 500 and 645 yards. So there is something to salvage in Perriman. There's a reason why he was a first-round pick. But I can also say that, is Perriman better than some of our talent now? Kinda, sorta, no. I do think Perriman is starting to get to that age where he's going to start getting to the, I want to say, the tail end of 30, which is like the south of 30. He's almost 30 now. He's had a couple more days. And yeah, I personally think that if we pick up this player, he might not do much for us, which is sad because I just said N'Keal Harry may have more potential, but I know Perriman would produce more if he was in a team more than N'Keal Harry. N'Keal Harry may have more talent, but Perriman has way more production, and he's produced. So I'd rather have Perriman than Harry at the moment. So we do have 2 quarterbacks in mind for the practice squad for Seattle. We already have our 2 quarterbacks locked up in Geno Smith and Drew Lock. In terms of other teams, I'm not too familiar with quarterback situations, but there are 2 quarterbacks that I do want to name that if you do need to add to the practice squad, these are available players that, in my opinion, they are at least practice squad caliber players, and they can progress maybe better onwards. So let's go ahead and talk about Max Duggan. So Max Duggan was basically, I think, a 7th round rookie, and he was drafted by the Chargers. I think he was drafted by the Chargers. I don't know if, yeah, he was. He was in fact a 7th round rookie. I thought he was an undrafted. He was a 7th round rookie, and he just got cut by the Chargers. What shocks me is that if you actually saw him in TCU, he did pretty well, especially his last season. He had a big target to throw with Quentin Johnston, and all in all, I understand that he did not have a good preseason. And to be fair, if you see him throw the ball, he does have a noodle-ish arm. He doesn't have that much arm talent. But Max Duggan is a pretty smart quarterback. The guy has some guts in him. If you saw him in TCU last year, he flashed. He was able to show that he can lead a team, even though the team was much more above average than his ability. He still led the team and took them to the national championships. That alone is saying a lot. Being able to take any team to any championships. So I would like to have Max Duggan instead of in our practice squad. It's Holton Allers, and Holton Allers, for anyone who doesn't know, Holton Allers is more like a Tim Tebow, Taysom Hill-esque runner / thrower, but he's way more of a running quarterback than anything else. And, he's fun. He's fun to watch, but in my opinion, he's not a quarterback. Max Duggan has proven he's been a quarterback. And even then, I would take my chances with Duggan because he's just so much younger. He's 22 years old. He has plenty of time to develop into becoming something even more prolific than what he is now. So would I like Max Duggan in my squad? Yes, I would. I think any team looking for a young, fresh practice squatter should really consider Max Duggan. I mean, it can't be worse, right? So next up, we're going to talk about another player that that I was checking out, and oddly enough, it's Jordan Ta'amu. So Jordan Ta'amu, he actually got cut. And it's kind of unfortunate because I felt as though he could have done more. In the XFL, he didn't do too bad. He had 142 completions on 227 attempts, almost 63% of his passes. And this is kind of, it's a little low, but 1,878 yards is nothing to scoff about, especially for a 10-game season. Threw for 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Yeah, and he also rushed for an additional 301 yards and gained 3 touchdowns. Granted, he lost fumbles. He had a fumbling problem, but I do see something in Jordan Ta'amu. My only thing is that he's just so young and he's raw. He's extremely raw, but he's got all the makeup to be a quarterback. Nice size, able to run. The only thing that he does struggle on is his actual arm, being able to throw it accurately. But other than that, if you really put Jordan Ta'amu in your practice squad, let him develop, just let him play the position, get those reps in. Maybe in about 2-3 years, Jordan Ta'amu could be something of relevance. Again, the biggest upside for him is that he's also very young. So other than that, if anyone wants, again, if you're looking out for a quarterback that you want to pick up in your practice squad who thinks that is worse than Jordan Ta'amu, there you go. So now we're going to switch up to the defense. There's a couple players in particular I'm going to name. Number one, Taco Carlton. Taco Carlton I'm a little surprised about Taco because initially I didn't even know that he was a part of the 49ers. And then I realized that he was in an injury reserve, and then he won his settlement on the injury settlement case or whatever that is. It seems like there's been a lot of injury settlement cases in terms of all the players being waived. He seems to be one of them. Again, he was drafted first overall. First round, 28th overall. I apologize. First round, 28th overall in 2017 by the Cowboys. Excuse me. As you can see, his numbers, they're there. He's had a couple sacks. Notably in 2019, he probably had his best season, 5 sacks. That's the thing with Taco. He's never really produced to his level of play, especially being drafted in the first round. Now, is Taco better than some players on the practice squad? In my opinion, still to this day, yeah, absolutely. But he's still getting older. He's 29 years old. He's going to be 29 years old soon. He's had a few injuries. Unfortunately, I don't even think he played last year. Let me check. Yeah, he didn't even really play much of last year, or he must have been cut by the I mean, that's what's weird about sometimes using Pro Football Reference. They don't really show like why he went to the 49ers, like if he was released or not. But I want to say that may have been the case. He may have been released, and Taco may have been picked up. And yeah, he's just been on IR the whole time with the 49ers. So hey, again, in terms of ability, is there something to salvage of Taco Carlton and making him part of your team? Maybe. But at this point, from what I've seen, especially all of his productions prior, I think he's really slowing down at this point. He's already getting closer to 30. Maybe he's going to be on the wrong side of 30. And yeah, you know, that's just how it goes in the NFL. You lose young, or you live long enough. All right, so we'll go back to another player, and this is Shane Ray. So Shane Ray was actually he was with the Broncos, but I didn't know. Okay, see, I didn't know that he was drafted first overall. I mean, first round, 23rd overall. I was not aware of that. I knew that he was with the Broncos and drafted by the Broncos, but in 2015 draft. So he's been gone for a while. Apparently, he took a big hiatus. I think it was like a 3 or 4 year stint, because after 2018, in terms of dotting down his lines, he stopped playing football. He just genuinely stopped playing football. I don't know if that was just a personal matter, but he was gone for 4 years. And then last year, he came back and joined the Bills. He also got injured, went on injured reserve, and is now won his injury settlement case as well. So at this point in time, he is a free agent. He is 30 now. Is there something in Shane Ray that we could probably use that's better than some of our talent now in Seattle? In terms of defensive ends, I cannot lie. We are very stacked in defensive ends. We have Boye Mafe, Derek Hall, Chenna Nwosu in terms of playing defensive end. We have Draymond Jones. Like we are considered stacked in terms of playing a defensive end position. But Shane Ray is still someone to keep in mind, because especially if he's taking football serious again and he can get away from being part of the injury reserve bug casualty, there is some hope in Shane Ray. And if you saw him play in with the Broncos, he did play well, in the 2015, 2016 seasons. Let's check him out. Like I said, he didn't play too bad. He still had 8 sacks in 2016. He had 1 tackle. And I think that was the year of the Super Bowl, I believe, in 2015, 2016 season. I think. I am not too familiar with the whole orders of Super Bowl, how it all won. But in any event, like I said, what I'm trying to tell you is that this Shane Ray, if you're comparing him to some players on practice squads, there's something to keep in mind of this player. Understandably, he hasn't played in many years, and his first year back, he's been on injured reserves. But again, there is talent there. You just have to tap it, and maybe he can produce more than what we have in front of us. Okay? So again, and also note, as I'm mentioning all these players, for not even just the Seahawks, but for any of your teams, I'm trying to get these players for like under $2 million. Like, these are cheap deals. I want to get these players for under $2 million, or if I have to take a big signing on a relatively bigger name player, then yeah, maybe $3 million, maybe $2 million max. Sorry, not $3 million, but $2 million max. So in terms of all these players I'm mentioning, think of a cap between $1 million, $2 million, and under. Always under. So I don't want people to understand that just because I'm naming these higher named talented players, quote unquote, they're still talented. I'm not trying to tell people to break the bank. Don't pay $5 million for Shane Ray, because it's not worth it. That's not worth it. That's when you want to really look into other players that are actually good, or fall into a trade if you're going to pay for an actual player. But players like Shane Ray and some of the other players I just mentioned, they're at that point in both their careers, and even starting their careers, that they can't ask for more. So Shane Ray, and along with all the other players, I'm not paying more than $2 million. Maybe 2.5 max. And even then, I don't think I can guarantee a very large contract. I can't guarantee probably any money. But in any event, Let's go and switch it up. We're going to switch it up to Desmond King. This actually shocked me because I thought Desmond King was he still is a good player. The one thing to note is that he always played cornerback, but until recently he switched to safety position. So now he is versatile in the secondary position. All right, so the guy's still 28 years old. He's gonna become 29 this year. The one thing that is of note is that he was a 5th-round pick, 151st overall in 2017. So he still has experience, but in my opinion, he's not like that old. Especially if he's staying at the safety position and he keeps up his play. I truly believe that this guy could make an impact on either the free safety or any slot corner or secondary that is needy for any cornerback or secondary. I would like to see Desmond King get picked up by a good team. I would love to see him get picked up by Seattle because that would bolster more on our secondary. But at the same time, I know Seattle's secondary is pretty deep. So I'm really mentioning this guy because I know this player, out of many players in anybody's teams, Desmond King is not even going to be a free agent for long. But more importantly, I'm highlighting this because I'm actually impressed that not only is he getting cut, his other teammate was cut, Kirksey. I'm impressed because Houston is literally just wiping out all of the old regime. So technically, these two players are part of the older regime, I believe. Yeah, see, since 2021, that's probably when Bill O'Brien was still around at the time. So he was probably still more of a Bill O'Brien guy, but he still played well. It's not like he didn't produce for Houston. So in any event, what I'm just trying to mention is that Desmond King is someone to look out for, especially if you need someone as a corner or even a free safety. It seems as though he's switching to free safety. All right, so there's 2 more players I want to mention. One player in particular, he is an offensive line. The thing is that he's a rookie and an undrafted rookie. That's Robert Haskins. So the thing that I'm mentioning, why am I mentioning Robert Haskins? Okay, so in UCLA, if you watch UCLA, he didn't really do too much. He actually was injured. But if you go to Virginia, the Virginia tapes where he actually played he's all 4 years in Virginia before he went to transfer portal to UCLA, he was actually a force. The guy was a beast. So I was actually very surprised that not only did he go undrafted, and it makes sense because he got injured in USC, so it kind of hurt his draft stock. But more importantly, Robert Haskins does play pretty well in terms of what I saw out there on his tape when I was watching the last game of the season for the Bears. And what was more interesting is that I truly believe Robert Haskins as an undrafted free agent is better than our right tackle backup, Stone Forsythe. If you guys don't know, Stone Forsythe is the Seattle Seahawks backup right tackle. Or backup left tackle, I'm sorry, because Curhan is our right tackle. Backup left tackle. He's a monster, 6'9", big guy, right? He's had the worst preseason in my entire life that I've ever seen from any offensive lineman. At this point, I'm willing to look at any other offensive lineman, notably left tackle position, and plug in someone else, even much cheaper than Stone Forsythe. Because Stone Forsythe is not that expensive. He still has that 6th-round draft pick rookie contract, so I don't know how much that's worth. But it can't be any more cheaper than picking up a literal UDFA and probably performing even better. My only problem with Haskins is that in terms of his weight, he's under 300 pounds. Most tackles are about 310, 315-ish, maybe 330 pounds. And that helps. That size helps him not get pushed around so often. So that's something that he would have to work on, is bulking up. But the guy's very young. He's about I believe he's 23 years old. He's very, very young. Just very. Let me see if I can. Yeah, 24 years old. He's 24 years old. So there's a lot to still do with this with Bobby Haskins. My thing with Bobby is that if he comes into Seattle or any other camp, will he actually learn? My thing with the Bears is that the Bears don't really develop offensive line so well. They've actually had some terrible offensive lines in the past. Well, as of recently, especially with players like Jermaine Ifedi, and he got cut too. So he got cut, but he was probably one of their better quote unquote tackles in their line. And for any Bears fan, if I'm wrong, let me know. Go down in the comment section and let me know if I'm wrong or not. If not, then that's just what I'm going to believe. But irregardless, Bobby Haskins is someone to watch out for any team in particular that's needy of a offensive line tackle. Last but not least, we do have one more player. He was a third-round pick for the Atlanta Falcons. He was actually not only was he a cut casualty, but some players were, at least when I was looking some research in him, not that players, some fans that were doing research, that when I was doing research, the Atlanta fans are kind of sick of this guy, Jalen Mayfield. And I think, and it makes sense because he got drafted really high, third round over 68th overall in terms of offensive guard, because he's an O-line, but he's an offensive guard. He's a guard. He's a left guard, notably. That's considered high. And from what he's produced apparently next to nothing. In 2021 was his best year because he played all 16 games. But in 2022, he didn't play at all. He was just absent. I think he was just hurt or something. But from more doing research on Jalen Mayfield, the more research I did, the more I realized Atlanta fans are just sick of Mayfield. They want him gone as bad as I want Stone Forsythe gone. So, where does this leave Seattle? The fact that he is a guard and an offensive tackle, he technically is transversive to guard and tackle because in Michigan he was actually an offensive tackle, but he played guard in the Falcons. He played left guard. Another thing to note is that he can play right guard, right tackle. So he is transversal. Like he can play around the offensive line. Now, for the Seahawks, we are a little bit needy on a right guard. Could he play right guard for us? That's something that I want to make a note of for Seattle fans. Could Jalen Mayfield be someone we could pick up? He's only been in the league 23. He's 23 years old. And he's going to be sticking to 23 until next year. So he has plenty of time to learn, plenty of time to progress, and plenty of time to be a player that he should be. A top, well, not exactly top, but a starting offensive lineman. So, do I see Seattle making a move on him? Honestly, no. Especially because if they're cutting him, and he's very young, he probably knows he wants about 2, 3, 4, 5 million. So he might actually command an actual salary compared to what I guess him being cut on the third round. I think he was probably making like 1, 2 million, maybe. So now that he's a free agent and he can command what he wants, technically, I do feel like Mayfield will ask for a higher price tag because of his age. But at the same time, I don't see like we can pay more than $2 million for Mayfield, especially for such of a disappointment he has been for the Falcons. So these are some of the players that I'm going to be mentioning for today. Tomorrow I'm going to be on the lookout for more NFL roster cuts, and then if any more players that come on, come down the pipeline in terms of the information. Then I'm going to make another video. I'll make a part 3 about this and then just highlight more NFL players that were cut that maybe my Seahawks could pick up or maybe another team can pick up. But again, these are some of the players I want to highlight. If any of these players if you have any interest of these players, that's great. Please give me a like, give me a comment, tell me what you think about your opinion on some of these players as well. If I'm completely wrong, let me know. And so more importantly, I hope you guys have a good day. And as I always say, go Hawks.